Good afternoon. Welcome. I'm glad you're all here when this was not in your official booklet, but you paid attention to the portal and to the flyers, so I'm proud of you. But this is a special presentation on scams. Unfortunately, there's a lot out there, and hopefully none of you have been scammed, but it's good to learn so that we can prevent that from happening. In the event a fire alarm sounds, please remain seated. I will direct you and we'll go to a red pole, and we will not use the elevators. But please welcome Sarah Perdue from the North Carolina Department of Justice.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me here. I appreciate it. As Carrie mentioned, I'm from the Department of Justice. As you can see, I'm with the Public Protection section there. Let's see if I can use this. Oh, great. The Department of Justice is also known as our Attorney General's office. We have a new Attorney General elected in November of this year. And he's great so far. Really like him. He has not, set his priorities, but he did speak last week at the North Carolina Association on Aging Council on Age, or the State Conference on Aging. And so, really prioritizing scams and frauds and keeping consumers safe in North Carolina. Just a few more things about the Department of Justice and our work and how we need you to work with us, and then we'll really get into the meat of the presentation, which is the scams and frauds portion. As you can see, the Department of Justice, our mission is to protect the people of North Carolina through our work preventing crime and supporting law enforcement, safeguarding consumers like yourselves, and defending the state, its people, and their constitutional rights. We have a number of divisions. It's a really big department. There are about 900 employees. The largest of our divisions, though, is our consumer division, and my section, the Public Protection section, falls under that consumer protection division. The consumer division does a number of things. We investigate consumer complaints, and that is what I need y'all to do, is to submit those consumer complaints. When you give us a call, you've had a bad business dealing, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, and it doesn't necessarily, every time rise to the level of a scam, but we can't investigate that and look into that for you without you telling us about that. We have an 800 number, which is, I have a sheet. I'll probably reference this sheet a couple times, but we have an 800 number. It's 877-5-NO-SCAM. You can also go to our website to submit a complaint, but we need to hear from y'all when you have a bad business dealing. So we investigate all of those complaints. We can take legal action when it's a true scammer. We respond to reports from businesses and state and local governments regarding security breaches. One recent one was a big one, was Power School, which the Wake County Public Schools and lots of public schools in the entire state use. So a lot of student data was compromised in that. We're still investigating that security breach. And then we educate North Carolinians about scams and frauds. Just a little bit more about our Consumer Protection Division. We received more than 19,000 consumer complaints from people like you last year, and we won nearly $84 million in court judgments and settlements. Again, a lot of that is direct from consumer complaints. Not all of it is. We investigate huge companies like Juul. We got a big settlement, which was an e-cigarette company, similar to tobacco settlement from years and years and years ago. But we have a ongoing settlement with Juul, which is they were targeting minors with their advertising. So some of these are huge settlements, but we also were receiving a lot of complaints about a predatory towing company, and we investigated that. We got a judgment against that company. The people who filed consumer complaints with us regarding that company received a portion of that judgment, and then the rest of it is shared across the state in some way. Every settlement's a little bit different, but that's sort of how that works. Since 2017, the division has won more than $3 billion for consumers in North Carolina. And one other way that we're sort of actively working to protect consumers is we have this take part in this robocall report task force. Our AG, along with AGs from all over the country, meet with the telecom communications companies like AT&T, Verizon, that sort of thing, and they work together to try to fight robocalls and the scammers that are, trying to get us over our phones. And as I'm sure you can see, it's sort of, the scammers are always one step ahead. Those robocallers, know what they're doing. They put in a lot of effort into getting through. But that task force is working hard all the time to, try to get in front of that. And I'll say a little bit more about that, but that's another one, we need to know when those robocalls are getting through to you. And we have another line for that. This is just a breakdown. These are the types of complaints we get. You can see, again, any sort of bad business dealing. So it can be anything from, motor vehicle sales, telemarketing, credit card companies, utilities, home improvement. If it's a dealing, a business dealing that sort of makes you think, oh, I should probably report that to the Better Business Bureau, please also report it to us. That's what I like to say. Like I said, it might not rise to the level of a scam or a true fraud, but it may. And we can't help you with that unless you let us know about it. So the meat of our presentation, what is a scam? Who is affected? A scam is a dishonest scheme that is aimed at taking money or something of value from an unsuspecting individual or group of individuals. And absolutely everyone in this room is susceptible to being scammed, regardless of gender, age, race, or education. The likelihood is that most of us have been scammed. I've been scammed. And actually young people like 18 to 25 are more likely to be scammed. They're being scammed more frequently. It's usually not for as much money. So they just don't have as much money to lose. So you don't hear about those as frequently, but if you have young people in your life, please, tell them something you've learned from this and help them to be on the lookout for that as well. But absolutely everyone is susceptible of being scammed. Scammers, we're going to talk today about the main ways we see scammers scam, and that's by phone, by text, and by computer. I feel like I am going to hold this so I can back up a little bit. That's better. Phone, text, computer. But that is not to say that there aren't scammers that are still going out and knocking on your door after a hurricane or sending you something in the mail. People are still scamming that way. Just primarily these days we see these methods. So that's what we'll focus on today, but please don't take this to mean that, there's not still these bad guys that are coming out after natural disaster and trying to get you to pay a bunch of money and then never returning or, stuff like that. That does still happen, unfortunately. These are the common scams in North Carolina. These are listed in the order of prevalence here. And all of these scams can be perpetrated in any of those ways that I mentioned. So we'll talk about these, and then I'll talk about phone scams, text scams, and computer scams. And when I'm talking about those, I'm talking about any of these could be perpetrated in that way. So the sweepstakes and lottery scams, those are probably very familiar to you. It's a message, a piece of mail, something that says you've won the lottery. Usually also you've won a car. For some reason they sort of go hand in hand, but they want you to pay some money to get those winnings. I recently saw a letter somebody had received that said their great uncle in Canada had died, and they had all this money coming toward them, and but they needed to pay some money to get it. It was a scam. So if you're paying money to get money, especially money that you don't weren't aware that you were in a sweepstakes, it's a scam. Pretty strong sign of a scam. The next most common in North Carolina are what are called imposter scams, which I think is a really silly name for any scam, since all scams really seem to be imposters. But this is a term of art, and specifically it is The scams where the person is pretending to be someone that has authority over you, whether it's a government agency, your credit card company, a business, that sort of thing. They're trying to get something out of you by telling you you're in trouble and need to pay something. Then the romance friendship scams are the next most prevalent in North Carolina, and those are the really scary ones that you see often, like on the national news, where someone has lost all of their life savings. They thought they were in a relationship, and were, I guess, in some way in a relationship online with someone they've never met, and then comes time for them to get together, and that person needs a bunch of money, some way, somehow, or they encourage the victim to invest in cryptocurrency. A lot of them are becoming that now. These often start on social media, but they also can start by a very innocuous, simple-looking text message. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, but just be really wary of those. Tech support scams, these are the pop-ups that come up on your computer and tell you that you need to download some software, the malware or something, a virus has been detected, and they want you to click on a button right then. If you're getting those pop-ups, take your computer to be checked out and maybe have something, a real malware program put on your computer, but don't click on that button. Don't do the one they want you to click on. And then the grandparent scams, that's the really scary AI-generated phone call that sounds like a loved one that's in trouble. It'll sound exactly like your grandson. They'll call you by your grandparent name, that sort of thing. They're just, again, trying to get you to send money somewhere. So just be careful of those. I do hear about those in North Carolina as well. Oftentimes people tell me that they have gotten that call and it sounded a lot like their grandson, but the grandson was upstairs, so they knew it wasn't, they weren't scammed, thankfully, or, something like that. Or recently, someone really, believed them, and they went to send money and realized they needed more information, so they called their grandson, and he was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not in trouble. So, they were sort of saved by that, but, they are scary, and just be really careful of that. Always verify that the person is really in trouble. So how, again, all of those scams I just talked about could be perpetrated by a phone call. So how do we avoid being scammed on the phone? The first thing to do is save phone numbers in your phone. Don't rely on the fact that your daughter's phone number. She's been calling you from the same phone number for 25 years. You don't need to put her name in your phone. You know what her phone number looks like. Save her name in your phone, attached to that phone number. Do it with your doctor's office, with your friends, anybody that you is a contact of yours. Please save them in your phone. Save their phone number so that you don't accidentally answer a call that wasn't actually from them. It looks like the phone number can be very close. Sometimes they can make it look like they're calling from your own number. So don't answer phone calls from numbers that are not saved in your phone. Let your voicemail message or your voicemail do its job. If it's your doctor's office or a loved one that's gotten a new phone number or something like that, they'll leave you a voicemail message. You can call them right back, but don't answer the phone call that is not saved in your phone. In fact, most phones have setting that you can tell any call that's not any number that's not saved in your phone, you can just tell it to go straight to voicemail. So you never have to hear the phone ringing at all. You'll just get a notification that you have a voicemail message, and you can, again, call right back. To that end, don't trust the caller ID. Again, they can make that 10-digit number look really close to your daughter's 10-digit number or exactly like your daughter's 10-digit number. And if you don't have your daughter's number saved in your phone, then you might answer it. So just be really wary of that. If you do answer a call and you are asked to press a button to stop the calls, just hang up. Don't press that button. When you press the button, you let them know it's a live line. When you hang up, they just think it's like a disconnected call because most of these calls are originating by computer. And if you, again, have answered a call and you start feeling in any way pressured, scared, or unsure, even if it's someone that's calling and saying that they're calling from Raleigh PD or your credit card company, but you start really feeling worried about this call, hang up. You can call the Raleigh PD right back on the number that you know to be their phone number and inquire. You can call, take your credit card out, flip it over, find the 800 number on the back, call that number, inquire with customer service. But if you feel at all pressured, scared, or unsure, hang up. Even if it's if it's your grandchild or supposedly your grandchild who says they're in trouble, hang up on them. Call them back on their phone number. Call their parent and say, is your son where he says he is? Or don't be afraid to hang up. If you have answered and they start asking questions, don't respond to them. Even yes or no questions, the yes or no, sometimes they're really just trying to record your voice saying yes or no so they can then use it to get into accounts or something later. But also, you answer a couple of yes or no questions, the next thing you know, you've given out personal information. Not, purposefully, you didn't intend to do that, but all of a sudden, it's a slippery slope. You've answered too many questions, and now you realize you've given out more information than you intended to. So don't respond to questions and don't give out personal information. All of this to say, always think before you answer. Let your voicemail do its job. If you do hang up and you're all suspicious, answer and you're all suspicious, hang up. And then you can always call back on a verified number if you have any concerns. So, you're not going to get in trouble if you hang up on somebody that says they're the Raleigh PD. Even if they are the Raleigh PD, you're not going to get in trouble for having hung up on them. Call back, but you're not going to get in trouble. A couple other things, sign up for the Do Not Call registry. You are supposed to do that at least every 2 years, just to make sure, even though, your information probably hadn't changed in a while, just you can call the number or go to the website, make sure your information is current and up to date, sort of make sure your name's still on the list. And it is sort of cyclical. I know it doesn't always work great. Those guys, the bad guys, find sort of holes in the mesh, as it were, and can get through. But when we use it, and we all use it, it works. And when we're on that and robocalls are getting through, if you let us know, that helps us fix those problems too. So if you have signed up for the Do Not Call registry and you're getting illegal robocalls coming through, please let us know about that as well. Again, kind of like the consumer complaints, we can't do anything about it if we don't know that it's happening. So we need your help to know that it's happening. And of course, there are some robocalls that are, the electronic sort of voice calls that are legal, like your doctor's office can call you and let you know about appointments. If you're registered to vote, they can call you and remind you to vote. They cannot call you and say, don't vote or don't vote for someone. Those are illegal robocalls. So other illegal robocalls are things like the car warranty calls. If you get a new car or something, you'll start getting all those unsolicited robocalls from them. Those are illegal. Anything like that, report to us, please. Next way that these scammers are trying to get us is on text messages, primarily these days. These are sort of types of messages that you see that, are trying to get you to click on a link or respond to a question. The missed delivery notifications where it says USPS has a package, but they need you to verify your address. They don't need you to verify your address. They know your address. They're the mail service. But, they also have tried and true methods. We've all missed a package at some point and you get a little sticky or, they have real ways of letting you know those things. Is this you messages, I sort of referenced that at the start about the romance friendship scams. These are messages that just come through. They look like They're coming from a 10-digit number that's just not saved in your phone. They seem very innocuous. It'll say, hey, is this you? Hey, I got a new call. Or even, hey, how are you doing? But again, it's not a phone number that's saved in your phone. And so even if you respond, oh, I think you have the wrong number, or, fine, how are you? Or they're trying to strike up a friendship with you and ultimately get you to invest in cryptocurrency, frankly, and then steal all your money. So please, if you get text message from a phone number that is not saved in your phone, ignore it. Again, if it's really a loved one trying to get in touch with you, they'll call you. They'll get you their new phone number a different way. So you do not need to respond to those, not even to let them know that they have the wrong number. Please don't respond to them. Bank account closing notifications, your credit card's locked. Those are those sort of imposter scams we talked about. The IRS or the government is not going to text you. They're not texting you to let you know they're coming out to arrest you. They're like, if you're in trouble, you should know it. So, but you've seen on the news, they don't have the capacity to text people. That's not something that's happening. So, the government's not going to text you. Sometimes, your bank account may really text you, or your credit card may really text you. So if you get a text message like that and you know that your credit card does sometimes send you a fraud alert, a true fraud alert text message, again, by all means, pull out your credit card and call the 800 number, but don't call the number that's in that text message. Don't click on the link in that text message. Call on a verified number. Same problem with subscription payment. I love when I get the one from Amazon that tells me there's something wrong with my account, because my account is under my husband's phone number. So I know that that's not true. But it happens. And if it was really under my account, I'm sure I would look at it and think, oh no, but it's typically a scam. Again, don't click on the link or call the number in that text message. And then fake fraud alert, similar to the credit card, text message. If you get something that says, there's some suspicious activity in your account, you can go down to your bank and say, I got this text message. Is there really suspicious activity on my account? But again, don't respond to that text message. Some ways to avoid those text scams or things to do with those text messages. Again, don't respond, don't click on the link, don't answer the text in any way, and don't even send the word stop. Sometimes it'll say, it'll have a message and it'll say reply stop to end messages. Replying stop just lets them know that there's a person on the other end of the line, and then they'll just start calling you. So, the thing to do, again, never click on the links, is send that message to 7726. You can do that a number of ways. One of them is that little where it gives you an option, like if you have an iPhone, it'll say delete and report junk. If it gives you that option, you can and should do that. It sends it to 7726 for you, and that reports it to the AGs, to the telecom companies, that robocall report task force I mentioned earlier. That lets that group of folks know that these are getting through. You can also just screenshot that bad text and send the whole picture to the number 7726 and hit send. Spells spam, but that again that's how you report those messages. And then once you've reported it, delete it, forget it ever happened. But like I've said several times, if it is something that causes you concern, if you're really worried that the FBI is going to come out and arrest you, find the 800 number for the FBI and call them and ask, but don't respond to that text message. They're not going to let you know they're coming. So the next one is the internet, ways to stay safe on the internet. I know that some of these next few slides are not particularly clear, but this is just an example of, though this one is pretty clear on this screen, it's clearer up there than it is on my computer screen, so great. But it is an example of a phishing email we are all receiving these a lot. This one is one that someone at the DOJ received. It purports to be from Zoom, but if you look closely at the email address, it should be, it says it's coming from Zoom, so the email address should probably be something at zoom.com. It's not, it's a fake NCDOJ email address, actually. The next thing, the number 2 up there is, oftentimes the security software on your computer will put in a little alert, and it'll say, we think this is a phishing email, proceed with caution or something like that. Generally, you can, trust that, or at least really give it some good consideration if that message is up there across the top. Another thing you can do is take your mouse and put your cursor over the link that it wants you to click on without clicking on that link, and it will reveal the full website address for you. So again, this is supposed to be from Zoom. The website should be zoom.com, / maybe some letters for a meeting ID. And I know you can't see it here, but this one is a bunch of gobbledygook. It's like half the alphabet and just a bunch of letters. So use your cursor to see what the website is. If it's not, if the email says it's coming from Macy's and the email address is not Macy's, or the website address is not Macy's.com, don't click on that link. Another thing that's not highlighted here, this email address, or this email came through at 4:21 a.m. So emails that are coming through way outside of business hours, that's usually a pretty good indication of a scam. And also, though this one doesn't have much, language in it, many words, but if it's riddled with spelling or grammatical errors or just sounds a little off, like the person that typed it is maybe not a native English speaker, or a computer or something like that, you can trust your gut there. Another thing is have a friend look at it with you. If you're a little worried, but you're not sure, have somebody look at it with you before you click on anything. My mom likes to call me and read the entire email to me. And usually I can tell her in the first sentence or two that, it's a phishing email, you shouldn't click. But she'll continue to read the whole thing. But I'd rather her do that than click on the link and get trapped in a scam. So please just have somebody look at it with you. That's the best thing to do, really. Again, I know this one's a little fuzzy. Couple things about social media. The first one is social media accounts. If you set up a social media account, your account is public. Anybody in the world can search your name and see everything that you're doing on social media, things that people are, posting to you or saying to you, things you're posting out. So make sure first that you go into security settings and set your account to private. That way, only the people you're friends with can see what's happening on your social media account. And then be very careful always about what you're posting on social media. These are pictures of the sort of fun quiz type things that you post an answer. You post an answer. You tag a friend or two to answer it to. The question as well. It's fun to giggle, about the car you passed your driver's test in. But scammers and hackers are watching that, and that's often the answer to a security question to get your password back, stuff like that. So just be really, really wary of what you're posting on social media. It's also how they're learning what your grandchildren call you, so that then they can use that information for the grandparent scams, or they know where your grandchildren are in college, so they can even say, "Hey, Mimi, I got in a car wreck in Chapel Hill," stuff like that. They use the information you're giving them on social media to trick you. So just be really careful about what you're sharing on social media and who you're sharing it with. Another one online. Often you see these types of things also on social media, but they can also come in the form of emails, the flash sales. They look really great. This one is a Lego sale. I have 2 boys. So this one was sort of directed at me. They knew it'd be something I'd want to go on sale for 80% off because Legos never go on sale and they're expensive. But, really, honestly, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Please don't click on that link. But you can look at it if there's a real sensation of urgency. You got to buy it now, or next 12 hours, that sort of thing. That's usually a sign of a scam. But in this one, and often, you're not, this is going to pop up and it's going to be really something you want to buy because, again, they know what you're interested in. They've been watching your social media. They know what you like, what you click on. So you might not even look, but down at the bottom, it's actually, doesn't come from Lego.com. It's not even sort of a real Lego description. So just be really, really wary of that, especially when online shopping. Couple of prevention tips for, your life online. Practice good cyber hygiene, and that is doing things like keeping your software on your computer, your iPhone, your watch, your TVs, all that updated. Anytime Apple sends that notification that says software update tonight, go ahead and run it. They're doing that to protect you. Have an anti-malware installed on your computer. Again, don't click on a link if it pops up and tells you need it, but take it then to a trusted, computer person to have some real anti-malware installed on your computer. Use strong passwords, and I'll say more about that in a minute. And then clear your browsing history or your cache. Some sort of browsers call it cache, some call it history. It's also whenever you go to a website and it says accept cookies, that's what you're sort of clearing out. So anytime you accept cookies, you're telling that business that they can see what you're interested in, but then the hackers can also use that information. They can see what you've clicked on to make the phishing emails look really legitimate to you, that sort of thing. Don't click on links or open attachments from unverified senders. So that's, again, those phishing emails or even a message on, social media. If it's not someone in your friend list, don't click on a link that they try to send you in messaging or something. Another recommendation we make is enabling online banking. That I'm not telling you have to do all of your banking online, but be familiar with your accounts. Know what they look like online. That way, if you get a message that says there's some suspicious activity, you can easily go into your account. You know how to do that. And you can check yourself. You can check it every morning to make sure that the transactions are posting are yours. Just be familiar with what that looks like and how to monitor your own accounts proactively online. Again, adjust your privacy settings, especially on social media, and then consider the multi-factor authentication, and that's that two-step password. Most banking and credit card accounts are going to require that now. That's where you put in a password and then they'll text you a one-time code or email you a one-time code. Sometimes I know that can be a little bit of a pain, but it's way more secure, much, much, much more secure. So please consider doing that with all of your accounts, but especially financial accounts. Okay, use strong passwords. I mentioned that a minute ago. This is my favorite slide. If you have a short password, 6 characters, even if it's a combination of numbers, uppercase and lowercase letters and symbols, a hacker can figure that out instantly. If you have a much longer password, has 18 characters, and it has a couple of numbers, maybe a symbol and some upper and lowercase letters, it will take them 438 trillion years to figure out your password. I love that. But it does not, your password does not have to be hard to remember. It just has to be hard to figure out. So use a favorite Bible verse or a song lyric, or even just a mantra that makes you happy. If you've shared any of those things on social media, use your second favorite. Don't use anything you've shared. But and then just change an S for a dollar sign or an O for a zero, stuff like that. Make it. It does not have to be hard for you to remember. Just needs to be long and hard for someone to figure out. So, and yeah, I mean, like I said, use something that's going to bring you joy, that's easy for you to type in, that makes you happy, that sort of thing, but make it long. Some payment prevention tips, especially like with online shopping. Avoid using your debit card. Use your credit card online, especially. You just have a lot more protection through your credit card company. Debit card, the money's coming right out of your account. And even if you realize right away that you've accidentally clicked on one of those shopping links and you're never going to get whatever the 80% off Legos, you're also not going to get your money back if you've used your debit card. If you use your credit card, you'll get your money back. They're very good for that. Don't run your credit card balance up. Only buy what you can. Pay it off, but use your credit card, especially shopping online. If you are asked to pay with a gift card, cryptocurrency, or by wire transfer, stop what you're doing in the transaction. That is really always a scam. I guess the wire transfer, there's some times when that might be legitimate, but it is, if it's somebody you've never met and they want you to pay by wire transfer, it's not a business-to-business transaction or something like that, don't do it. And then unless you know the vendor and you're going to get what you're paying for, just be careful using Zelle, PayPal, or Venmo, Cash App, that sort of thing. There's nothing inherently wrong with those payment systems. They're just similar to your debit card. It's harder to get your money back if it was a bad transaction. So just be careful there. Some everyday tips. This top one, watch out for skimmers. That is what this picture is, and those are little machines that sit on top of a regular credit card machine. A bad guy has come in and put that on there, and now they're sitting in a van behind the gas station reading everybody's credit card number. This is not super frequent, especially at large gas stations. This happens at small rural gas stations where they just don't have, overnight, the one attendant on duty might have gone to the restroom and given a bad guy plenty of time to come in and put that on there. So there are a few things you can do to sort of look for it. You can see how it's like a plate, like it's all the buttons. That whole sort of faceplate will wiggle a little bit. So if you're at a gas station, you're a little worried, you can try to move the thing, and if it moves, then I would run. Don't use your credit card. But, like I said, it's mostly at very small sort of rural gas stations and on those standalone ATMs at those. So just be really wary using those. But it only is going to take your credit card information if you run your card with the Stripe. If you use your chip or the tap to pay, that is much more secure, and it's not going to get your. So use those. Insert the chip or use the tap to pay. That is much more secure, especially if you're concerned. If you're taking a road trip and you're going to be traveling through a rural area, maybe have enough cash to get a tank of gas just in case you stop somewhere and you're a little wary, that sort of thing. Perform regular wallet audits and remove unnecessary cards from your wallet. If it's not in there to fall out and you to lose, then it's not there for someone to pick up and steal. Shred documents with personal information. You don't have to have a big fancy shredder, just enough to make a bad guy not want to put it back together. And then collect your mail quickly, as I mentioned at the start. There are still scammers out there that are doing things like trying to steal your personal information off pieces of mail that you have, sitting out in your mailbox for a couple days, that sort of thing. So just be careful there. Again, if you have a concern, if you've gotten an email or a letter in the mail, my father-in-law got a piece of mail from, it looked like it came from the Geek Squad, and it told him that he was going to be charged $600 on, a warranty that he knew had ended years and years and years ago. And then he was going to call the number that was listed in that letter. And thankfully, my husband and I were there and told him, let's look up the Best Buy Geek Squad phone number, and it was different than the one in the letter. So just be wary of stuff like that. Several of the slides said call on a verified number. You sort of look up that number. You proactively find the number and initiate a call like that. But just, if you have any concerns, if a letter or an email, a text message, anything like that worries you, have somebody look at it with you. If, two of you are worried, then you might not want to respond or not do something about it. And then be aware of a false sense of security. As I mentioned earlier, we are all susceptible to being scammed. If you think you've never been scammed, A, you're probably wrong, but B, good for you. But, that doesn't mean you're not going to get, or not, it's not possible for you to be scammed. So just be really, really wary there. A couple other sort of proactive things you can do. You can get your annual credit report, and actually it's a weekly credit report now. That was a program they put in place during the pandemic, and they have extended it. At least they had before January. I might need to look into that. But still, you can call all of these, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, the three major credit bureaus. You request your annual credit report, or like I said, weekly if that program is still in place, and it should be. I haven't heard differently. And it's not doing a deep, dive credit report. It's not going to ding your credit like if you were going to go get a car or a new appliance or something. It's just running enough of a credit report for, to see if there's any suspicious activity on your account. So it's just a really good way for you to sort of look at your credit, say, I didn't apply for credit on that day, or, to know what's happening there. And then the other thing you can do with those same credit agencies is request a security freeze. And if you're going to do this, you call each of those sort of at the same time, on the same day, and you call and you tell them you want to freeze your credit. What that does is it keeps any credit you have, like your credit cards, open. You can still spend, to your limit, that sort of thing. If you have a home equity line of credit, you can still use it open, that is. It just makes it so that you or no one else can apply for credit in your name. You have to, unlock your credit to apply for credit. So if you needed a new car or a new washing machine, you would call those agencies back, tell them that you would like to unfreeze your credit. You're going to buy a new washing machine this weekend, and please refreeze my credit come Monday morning. But it requires sort of a two-step process to apply for credit in your own name. So it's really the most secure thing, the best thing you can do to protect your credit. And it's not terribly difficult. And then finally, if you think you've been the victim of identity theft, go to identitytheft.gov, which is through the FTC. And I know there's some handouts over here from the FTC, but you just go in and you sort of do a consumer complaint type. You tell them what has happened to you, and they provide you with a personalized recovery plan. Some personal, insurance plans also include a identity theft recovery program. So, check if you, again, think you've been the victim or have been the victim of identity theft, check your insurance and see if there's something there as well. There's a long website down there with our information. You can just go to ncdoj.gov, and our website is very user-friendly. There's it says what do we do? And you can click on all sorts of different options. Protecting consumers is, again, where I'm from, but you can learn all about the DOJ. But if you click on protecting consumers, then there's all sort of information there and other links you can click on. There's a really big search bar, and you can search for things like shred events. You can search for our senior scam guide, anything like that. It's a very user-friendly website. And again, have this sheet of paper for everybody that has a lot of this information. It has the 3 credit bureau agency phone numbers on it, and our general outreach email address. If you have any questions, you can email that, and that will get to me. Yeah, and I think that's it. Do I have any questions? Yes, sir.
You mentioned the one about the Amazon, your Amazon account.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of thing that you want to send to you? In other words, you said send us.
Yes, sir. Yes. If you receive any text, the question was if you get a text that's even sort of innocuous seeming, like your Amazon account is blocked, is that what we want you to send to 7726 and then ultimately? Oh, the consumer complaint? If you're getting a lot of them, you can also, send those to us like a consumer complaint. That will help us to look a little bit further. If those are originating from a person in North Carolina or a company in North Carolina, then we can do something about that. Otherwise, we would share it with federal partners. But yes, even if your text message just says something as silly as your Amazon account is locked or your payment isn't going through on your Amazon account, that is, we want you to send that to 7726 for sure. Again, if you're getting tons and tons of them, please share that via our consumer complaint line as well.
The skimmer at the gas station, does something, if you use your chip, does it bypass that, or is it still going to capture it?
Yes, sir. So the question is about the skimmers again. The skimmers work only by you using the stripe, because when you use the stripe on your credit card, you are that machine is reading your credit card number and all the information, like the 3-digit code, it gets your address, all of that. When you use your chip or the tap to pay, your credit card and that machine are talking to each other and creating a transaction ID that is a one-time thing that sort of tells, your credit card that you've made this payment at this place and vice versa. And so your credit card information is never even being sort of shared with that company. So yes, if you're at a place that you're worried they might have a skimmer, but they have that tap to pay function, even insert your chip, you will, the skimmer won't read your credit card information that way. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
The things you said to do was to clear the cookies or the history. How did you do that?
Yes, ma'am. So how do you clear your cache or your history? When you're on the internet, just even open your internet, and it says it's different different sort of ways on different ones, but it'll say kind of like anything else, like a drop-down menu, like settings or something is way at the top above the browser line. Usually it's to the far right, I think, of the screen, but you click on like the settings icon or something like that. You really should probably have, IT or somebody look at it with you to do it specifically, but then it'll give you a drop-down menu and there'll be a line that'll say clear browsing history or clear cache. And you can just click on it there, and then it'll even give you, do you want to clear your search history forever? Do you want to clear it for the last 30 days? It'll sort of give you some options. But you open your internet browser, and then there'll be like a settings option or something there. Anything else? Yes, sir.
When you send an email message to spam,
Mm-hmm.
label it as spam, what happens to it?
When you label an email message as spam, what happens to it? Usually it's telling your email, Yahoo, that message was spam. And so then Yahoo will do a better job of filtering out that those email address or that email again. So if, well, it doesn't forward it necessarily to like us, like a report in that way, but it does let Yahoo know or what, Gmail, whatever your internet provider is or your email provider, that is a spam message. And so it'll help. It then sort of communicates in its system and lets, it starts marking all of those emails as spam. So you'll never have to see them. You're not going to accidentally click on a link, from one of those, accidentally open that spam. So it's sort of a way of training your email to know which emails are spam. And they are, I think, those email providers are using that information. So I think in a way it is reporting that to them. It's not reporting it to us, to my knowledge, though. Yes, ma'am.
When I get something that I think might be spam, I go block the sender. Is that the best way to do it?
Yes, ma'am. So if you can block the sender for an email if you think it's spam, or it just sort of depends on who your email provider is. Some of them, the option will say block sender. Sometimes the option says report as spam. Those are often the same. They work sort of the same. So it's a great thing to do. You should do it because it's not letting that email get even into your inbox so that, you don't accidentally click on something. Right. So you don't ever have to see that email. Yes, sir. Did you?
I guess my question is, if you have a text, you send it to 7726,
Yes, sir.
but I was wondering about the email. How do you send that to you folks as spam? Maybe I'm missing that point.
So the question is about spam emails and how you could send that to us. The 7726 for text messages spells the word spam. So that's the easy way to remember that. The emails, if you wanted to share that with the DOJ, you would need to file a consumer complaint and attach those, you would sort of screenshot them or something and attach them to that consumer complaint. But when you mark in your email, again, mark them as spam, you're doing something similar to the text message. When you send a text to 7726, you're alerting your carrier, your wireless carrier, so like AT&T or Verizon, about these text messages. So it works similar to the email. So if you mark an email as spam, you're letting your email carrier or your email provider know that they're spam. So it's working similarly. Yeah. All right. Well, thank y'all all. I really appreciate your time. And there are a lot of handouts up here. And don't hesitate to reach out if you have any other questions or concerns. Thank you.